Welcome to the Blow Up the Blueprint podcast, where it's all about how to use creative thinking in your business for a standout brand. With your host, Jo Gifford.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 23 of the Blow Up the Blueprint podcast with me, Jo Gifford. I'm so delighted today to be speaking with the fabulous Vanessa Horn, who really shared on our interview some deep work that she goes through and that she's been through recently herself to make some huge shifts in her business. Now, Vanessa is an incredible coach and mentor to entrepreneurs who are really ready to up their brilliance into some high ticket, high revenue work. And our conversation really took a different route to one that I'd expected. And I love it when that happens. I love it when I speak with someone and we let it flow and we shared our stories with some vulnerable stuff going on, both from myself and from Vanessa. And we share about getting in the messy and about where the work is and about how when you really do that work with yourself and you connect with your own power, your energy rises, you're able to serve people and you get to work with people who light you up and make a big difference in the world. So listen on into my interview with Vanessa. I'm so delighted you guys are here. As always, come and say hi over on Instagram stories at the Jo Gifford or on Twitter at the Jo Gifford, or come and find me on Facebook and let me know what you think about the show and what you'd love to hear. I'm really grateful you're here. And let me know as well what resonated with you from this interview with Vanessa. All right, guys, here we go. Okay, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Blow Up the Blueprint podcast. And I'm so honoured to have a really epic person with me today on this interview. And it's the wonderful Vanessa Horn. Hi, Vanessa.
Hello, my dear.
Hello, lovely. I'm so excited to have you on here to chat about what you do. And I want to thank Vanessa in front of all of you guys listening as well, because we had a reschedule nightmare. And I was just saying to Vanessa just now that I've got to the stage of being so embarrassed that we've had to reschedule so many times. I think you were sick once. I had sick kids. I had Wi-Fi down. I was ill. And it's just such a lovely thing to know that people stick with you. So I'm really grateful.
And this interview will be different than it would have been 4 months ago if we would have done it then.
It's so true. It's so true. And I'm always so grateful when people get it, because that's the other part, isn't it? It's real life and things, we have spanners in the works when we're parenting and running businesses and all that sort of stuff. So I acknowledge you and I'm so pleased that you're here. So Vanessa, you help purpose-driven entrepreneurs to stand out in a noisy marketplace and be wildly profitable to make an even bigger difference with your gifts. So who are you working with right now and what's exciting you right now with what you're doing with your work?
Well, frankly, I've been helping clients to create their high-end offers and really step in powerfully to the role of closing those deals. And we've just it has exploded. One of the things that's really shifted for me in the last little bit is we've moved into a completely different industry. And I was having a conversation with my husband and saying, I love sales. I'm ready to sell something bigger. What's the biggest thing I can sell? I was luxury real estate. Because I'm this SaaS product. And it's interestingly, these huge opportunities have basically fallen into my lap because
wow.
Yeah, and it's still doing what I do, which is empowering individuals to really step into shining as a light in their industry, making extraordinary money while being deeply connected to the work that they're doing, tying into their purpose. And so for me, I'm all about sales. I love the challenge that comes with individuals stepping into a higher price point because it stirs up all that stuff inside of us. Am I enough? Is this enough? Is this offer enough? And for me, it's that inner work in addition to the mastery of the sales. And for me, standing out, marketing, all of that is pre-sales. Because if you can do the selling before they ever get on the phone with you, they're already halfway closing themselves. So that's why I love the marketing piece as a piece of sales. But that's the exciting thing for me. My energy has just been through the roof as a result of that. And what I've found is when your energy is up, you can close deals. So all of a sudden it's boom,
yes.
boom, 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 things closing left and right. And my husband's whoa, your energy is up. I go, yeah, this is so the right direction for us. I'm so excited.
Oh, Vanessa, well, I mean, first of all, let's congratulate you guys. That is fantastic. And I'm sure that everyone listening as well will really resonate with that moment when you feel like you are on fire and kind of everything you touch turns to gold almost, doesn't it? When you're in that energy and in that flow and you love serving your people and you're in that zone, it's such a great sign and confirmation that you are doing the right thing. So what shifted for you, do you think, to kind of go into that even bigger expansion?
Well, frankly, pardon the French, that my one of my friends and clients, she makes fun of me. She goes, "You say pardon the French and then you never say it." But I'm like, "But I'm thinking it. I'm thinking it." So it was this moment that the beep hit the fan. And in our personal life, this is really the truth. I always believe that whenever you hit those moments in your life where it's just like, seriously, like I cannot believe I'm in this moment. You talked about when you are on top of the world, you're doing but what about those moments when you're like in the pit?
Oh my
And
God.
you're feeling the worst. Well, that was me just a couple weeks ago.
Oh, God.
And what happened was we are renting our house where we live and we own another home elsewhere, but we've kind of not been paying attention. We're like, this is working out great. We had a great deal with the landlord. So our 1 year agreement turned into now 7 years later, we're in the same place. Or he goes, "Hey guys, I want to sell the house. Do you want it?" And we did not pay attention. Our brains did not pay attention. We didn't clue in to what he was really saying. And we're like, "No, we're not really in a position. Like, we just want to keep." Well, what happened was he turned around. The first person who saw it, because he was offering it at 75% of market value, boom, bought it. And now we're like having to move. We're having to find out, okay, maybe we should just buy a house, all these things. And I hit like what got stirred in me was when I was in middle school, our landlord needed to take his house back. And so we got booted out as a family and literally had nowhere to live. So we lived inside of a church. Like our church let us live there. My dad moved in our bunk beds, 5 kids, into the church. There were no showers. And so we got a pool pass at the local pool and we would go into the locker rooms and take showers there. It was my middle school years. So my kids are middle school now. And it was like something stirred in me, that memory, and tears were rolling down my face. It triggered a deep place in me of saying, like, I missed it. I screwed up. The landlord asked us. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't feeling well. Like, what have I done? Like those moments when you feel like, wait, I have brought myself to this position in life. Like I'm working so hard and I thought I would be in a different place. What's going on? Like, I'm sure we've all had those conversations in our head. And I hit such a low point, and all of us have different ways of reacting in those situations. Part of my shadow response, and I really believe in like no judgment towards our shadow parts, part of my shadow response is blame. I go into blame. Then I'm like into my husband. I'm like, see, it's all on me. I've got to carry the family because I'm the breadwinner. If it's not, I've got to be paying attention to everything. And he and I, it was this moment of like this catalyst of like beep hitting the fan. And in that, I stopped and I was like, stop it, Vanessa. Take inventory of what's going on right now. And one of my clients, I was reviewing her webinar for her, and one of her slides said that gratitude was a higher frequency than love.
Wow.
That on the scale of like 0 to 900, gratitude was 700 to 900, whereas love was 500 to 700. I was like,
wow.
I know. I would have thought like that euphoric feeling that we feel with love, but gratitude is actually a higher frequency. And I was like, okay, like
I'm gonna get me some of that
stop right now and like take inventory of what you're grateful for and what's going on here. And clarity came to me that said, you know what? When the kids graduate the house in 10 years, I'm going to be married to this same man. And if this is going to work for both of us and for me, I don't want to be working my beep off in 10 to 15 years the same way I am right now in my life. And what do I need to shift? How does my business need to change? And there were some decisions, and indecision is one of the most destructive things for us. And in that moment, when the beep hit the fan, and I think anytime that any of us hit those hard moments in life, we get forced to make a decision, or we realize I cannot stay straddled between two things. And all of a sudden, that clarity of like, beep, I am making this decision. I'm no longer straddling. All of a sudden, this domino effect occurred of things clicking into place. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I coached one of my clients into what's potentially like an $11 million contract that we'll be a part of. And it was from like, no, girlfriend, because I'd stepped into my power. I'm like, no, girlfriend, you're not going in there with your tail between your legs. This is how you're going in. This is your posture. This is what, and she did it, and like, they're like all over it. And so that's what I believe with any of us when we go through those moments, rather than being, if we will pause, if we will bring gratitude, if we will say like, you know what, this moment right here is going to be a pivotal moment. The same shift that happens inside of us when we do something exciting, passionate, the same physical, the response, the chemicals that are being released in our body, the same hormones that are being released are the same that are being released when we're facing fear. So if we can shift that and we can say, okay, this moment right here is going to be a catalyst for something amazing. So we're bringing gratitude to it, even though we can't see how it's going to end up. It allows us to put ourselves in a position of receiving versus trying to force something to go a particular way, or in the state that I was in, which was blaming, which was feeling shut down, feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to repeat what I did as a kid.
That imagery is so powerful.
Yeah.
The fact that you went through that as a kid, that I've got all the tingles over here. And I've never had a podcast interview, I don't think yet, Vanessa, where I haven't cried, just FYI. That is just the fact that it's like a facsimile of that example, but look at how you moved through it. Look at how you faced that with gratitude. Such a powerful example. And you know what? We wouldn't have had the same conversation if this podcast interview had been when we were first supposed to do it, because I've just been through a really similar thing. Like end of last year, business blew up massively, built a big team, all this kind of stuff. And in January, February, March even, it was like we had all sorts of catalysts going on that just forced me into basically fetal position on the sofa with my ego saying, you were supposed to be so much bigger than this right now. And I was in this place of what's happened? What have I done? Why have I failed? What's going on? So much deep work went on over here as well. And I don't mind admitting there was a lot of ugly cry sessions, sobbing into my crystals. And I upped my practice of everything. I upped my yoga, I upped the meditation, I upped the high frequency stuff. I went super high raw on my high vibration food. I implemented intermittent fasting. Like I'm plant-based anyway. So I was like, right, let's get as high vibration as we can. And I remember catching myself one day in the kitchen, like feeling my thoughts start to go down there. If I don't bring X, Y, Z in, then this will happen and that will happen. I was standing there in my lovely kitchen full of like organic, lovely vegan food, looking out to my Mercedes. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, well, check yourself, girl. Like for a start, it's going to take a long time before you're actually homeless and you aren't going to be starving. Everything is fine. This is just moving through some stuff. And the transformation that went on over here was very much gratitude and inner work based, and literally things have turned around now so quickly. And you know, just this week my little ebook on Kindles has hit number 5 in 3 bestseller lists. I've just opened up sort of 2 new programs that are getting results left, right and centre for clients that I adore. And I'm in a very different, playful, creative, expansive space. And had I not been through the fire of that introspection and everything else falling away, I wouldn't have got to this bit. And the brilliance often comes, doesn't it, from that work. That's where the work is.
Yeah. And not being afraid of it and not judging no matter what our response may be. I love what Carolyn Mace does some work on archetyping. And she's the only person I've come across that talks about the different archetypes in that inside of all of us, the victim. Is the victim, is the child who wants to go into, oh my gosh, it's the world against me. Is this going to work for me? Or in my response, blame or whatever. And when I studied her work, and there's other archetypes that she says we all share, but that one in particular, because there's so much personal development work around like basically shifting the victim. But I
Mm.
just found like when we're compassionate to when that part shows up, and if we
Mm.
put in like the practices like you did, or with me knowing like, okay, this is going to be part of an extraordinary story. I don't know how this story is going to end, but I know
Yes.
that this is going to be an amazing part of this story right now. And if we have compassion, no matter what our response may be, and it's not pushing that when we go to the depths of those tears, when we go to the depths of the pain that we experience, like most people aren't comfortable feeling emotion and allowing themselves to sit in the emotion or letting others go through the emotion. And there's nothing like just getting it all out, just get it all out. And then you feel like this, like, okay, I can breathe. I'm going to live.
Yeah, and you know, it was like a snowball effect over here as well with that, because this happens at every level of business, isn't it? And the more you reach into your brilliance and your power, you bring up more stuff. And for us, we had the business like months of doom in the winter, and then you know we hit a kind of rocky thing here with our relationship, my partner and I. But moving through them, I noticed that I move through each piece much faster now, because my mantra has been over the last couple of months, like, look at this with curiosity and not fear, and feel it. And as you were saying, then it's like in my youth, I would have numbed all this out, probably with food, you know, definitely with alcohol, with avoidance, all this kind of stuff. And now I feel it and cry it and move through it and talk about it and journal it and counsel it and coach it and all the tools that we have available. And then you kind of realize as you breathe and you move through it, you're like, okay, and this is what I learned from that. This is where I'm stepping into now. And every time that happens, the people who then come to me, and I'm sure the people who come to you, Vanessa, need for you to have been through that, because they are going through it, and you become that person who can reflect back the possibility.
Yeah, and to your point of what this entire conversation is about, standing out, this is what I believe. I believe that people can tell. It's at a subconscious level. No, is it Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called Blink? That at a subconscious level, we know that they could put a false statue in front of them, a sculpture, and they knew like that's the fake, that's the real. Like it was like at a subconscious level. And I believe in this sophisticated market, like people becoming more and more sophisticated when it comes to purchases, with hiring coaches, hiring service providers, that at a subconscious level, they're picking up who's the real deal. They're picking up who can I trust. They're picking up, will this person really fulfill on what their marketing claims are? Because everybody has amazing marketing claims, but who is really the person that I'm going to trust to hire me? And as we're marketing ourselves online, we're marketing ourselves through any different channel. If we're going to stand out in the marketplace, one of the most powerful ways I believe to stand out is if we're willing to be fully present with our shadows, all the parts of us, we're not afraid. We're not afraid of being seen. Therefore, we're not afraid of any part of us being seen. Therefore, we do stand out, because what comes through is authenticity. What comes through is this person's real. And therefore, at a subconscious level, they're getting that they can trust. And I can't tell you how many times, and this is why, you know, as it translates from standing out on webinars, for instance, and when we evaluate our ads, $1 in ads yields at least a $10 return. So if we put in $1,000 of ads, it's $10,000 return. Like we know our stats, and people are like, well, wait. I even had Frank Kern review my funnel beginning to end, and he's like, okay, stop messing with your emails, stop messing with any of that stuff, because you know who would kill, you know, people would kill for this funnel, these conversions. And without exception, when we do our intake forms of like what resonated with you, what had you enroll in the program, almost the majority of people will say, I get that Vanessa cares.
Yeah.
I trust her, which is like very unusual because I just met her. This is how we convert cold traffic to high paying clients. This is how we're effective in sales enrollment. This is how we're effective in our marketing. This is how we're effective. And it comes from being the real deal, being in integrity with ourselves, not being afraid to face the shadow, not being afraid to face those parts of us. And like you've shared vulnerably on your own podcast what you went through, right? But what it has is your audience say, I know when she put something before me that I can trust this. And I mean, I've had people who say like, I don't even know what you're selling, but I got to work with you, right? Like that's the result because we crave the real deal, not this like this word that's being used and thrown around about authenticity. Like it's a little bit overused, but what is authenticity really? Authenticity is, okay, are you fully embracing of your shadow and your light equally and loving all those parts of yourself? Because you cannot shine in front of somebody without those two being integrated and bringing compassion to the shadow parts, embracing the shadow parts so that you're not afraid of the public. You're not afraid of strangers. You're not afraid of anybody's response to you because you've already looked at those parts of yourself. And then when we get the emails of people saying, well, you're just this or you're just that, like you said, we can bring curiosity to it. Like, I wonder what's going on in their world to respond like that, instead of us being defensive, instead of us like, oh, shoot, I'm being discovered. Oh, yeah, that fraud part of me was scared. And now here's somebody like, how did they pierce through the armor and find exactly that little spot to put their sword in? And we'll only be responsive and reactionary to those things if we don't take the time to really be like, okay, what might that reveal about me? What needs to be looked at here?
And oh my gosh, there's so much gorgeousness within all that you just said there, Vanessa, that I'm going to unpack a few bits of that. And yeah, to go back to the authenticity part, you're so right. That's the word we hear so much. What I see is people try to be, I'm doing the little air quotes, authentic by mimicking someone's copy and brand and tone that's working, because they think, well, that seems to be, that person over there seems to be the kind of person that I want to be. I'm going to use that terminology. Or they think that being authentic means being controversial and a bit shouty and trying to stand out in a way that is misaligned with who they really are. And as you said, when we step into our true power, which means embracing all of those shadow parts, all those pieces, then you have that resonance and that magnetism that you have and that I have with people who send me emails and share my stuff and write to me saying that I've changed their lives so much by sharing a story about XYZ and showing them how I worked through it. If we create a lifestyle that is unattainable because we're painting a picture of something else, that disconnect is tangible, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I know certainly with my peeps, when I see them, there's a moment where they embrace that power and like the light switch goes on and the energy goes up and they're running with it. And they're like, I get it. I get my power with my messaging. And as you say, like you could have, and what I also see, as I'm sure you do, is that people who have on paper the blueprint that is, ticking all the boxes of maybe a funnel or a YouTube show or a blog or whatever it is, but it's not hitting the figures, it's not hitting the stats, it's not hitting the revenue. And more often than not, there's a disconnect with that energy and with that power. And their own brilliance is blocked in some way because they haven't done that piece behind it. And it's such a huge, huge piece. So I'm excited to see what's coming up for you with your new stuff and what's happening as you've made this enormous shift. And I'm just so grateful that you shared such a really vulnerable story yourself, Vanessa, because that is, I think, the more I see leaders sharing what goes on behind the scenes, it does build up such a trust and such a resonance that it helps us all to believe in possibilities as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I have a mentor who she challenges me even beyond what I do, because sometimes it's easier to share when you've gotten past the messy.
Yeah, when you're in the messy, it's ugly.
Yeah, she's like, share in the messy. I'm like, I can't do that just yet. But sometimes I can, but I do like, oh, what are they going to think of me kind of thing. But I literally did a 12 days of income Facebook Live inside of my Facebook group. Wow. And I did 12 different income streams because I teach multiple income streams from one core high-end offer. Okay. And somebody said, Vanessa, you're doing these Facebook Lives and it's almost like you're too perfect. And like, how did you get to where you're at? And I'm like, he says, like, you have it together. It's like you have it all together. And I was like, whoa. I go, stop the brakes. If that's the message that's getting conveyed, it's hitting at an intellectual level. It's not hitting at a heart level. And it stirred me. It stirred me emotionally. I was in tears and I felt misunderstood. I felt not. And so I went on there and I did a live and it was messy. I was crying my eyeballs out in the live. No kidding. It had like 3 times the number of views of all the other 12 income streams and people responding in and saying like, I need to work with you.
Yes. And we see that so often when we aspire to the next level, when we are looking into our own growth, it's so easy to left and right and see someone like you and just think, she's fine. Like, she's got it all. Like, she's never been through what I've been through. And to share that stuff, to be there with the ugly crying and the snots on the Facebook Lives, and this is actually what's going on behind here, is so incredible. And I'm not surprised that it had that response, because the shadow in you is the shadow in us. We are connected, and people are magnetized to each of us for various reasons. You know, whatever we've been through with our unique lens, and whatever we bring with all our expertise, experience, approach, and personality, the right people find us for being exactly that lens and perspective on things. And your peeps needed you to show what goes on behind all this amazing stuff that you have achieved. And I just think it's incredible that you took that lesson from it as well, and were like, okay, no, you need to hear this. Let me share. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I just shared what it stirred in me. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking. This is how I'm feeling misunderstood. Like, let me just share the impact of that comment. Like, and now it's like my little baby, my baby practice of sharing in the messy. But yeah, we're all human, you know, at a core level, our needs are very similar to one another. And in this journey of building businesses and making a difference in the lives of others, like, it's really, we're in collaboration with each other more than we realize. And it's like, okay, how can my journey help your journey? How can your journey help my journey? How can we hold hands together and make the difference that we're here to make, and embrace each other in our humanity along the way?
Oh, so right. And I love. This has been a big lesson for me this week, is, you know, I've had to receive beautiful testimonials and messages from people sharing about my book, because I would share for anybody who asked me to, who I've really felt called to. And when you realize that, when you ask, you know, people respond. If you've been behaving in a way that attracts that, if you've been showing up for people, they will show up in their hundreds and thousands for you. And my goal is like yours, Vanessa, to make sure that people achieve their potential, such a overused word, but they really recognize their brilliance and their power. And we are all here to lift each other up. And when we do that, man, there's some big things that go on. That's what moves me daily, is by seeing people see those connections, lift each other up. And the difference that we make as a legacy in this world is, yes, it's business, it's wealth, it's all of that. And it goes beyond all of that when we look at our messy stuff. I want to thank you for being here with us and sharing some of your messy. And I would love to have you back to talk about the practical stuff that you work on to get people through that messaging. If we can go through it another 6 months.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm just so
like,
moved.
okay, what's that translate in business? I'm happy to have that conversation.
I'm so moved, though, by this piece of it. And I'm so grateful that we spoke about this piece, because this is the work. This is the hard bit. This is what so many people are afraid to look at, because you can have the tactics and the blueprints, but without the deep, messy, on the floor in the early hours, like work, then, you know, that's where the shifts come. So, Vanessa, where can we find you in the meantime?
The best place is to join that group where we're doing these lives. We're sharing in the messy, we're sharing the practicals, and that's at jointhefreegroup.com. That will take you to the right page. That's the best, or my website's vanessahorn.com. So I'd love to continue the conversation at jointhefreegroup.com.
What a brilliant URL as well. Genius. It is really, really cool. I love that. And I've just joined it. So I've just jumped in there. So guys, you know, come and join Vanessa in the group. Let's carry on this conversation. And I'm so grateful to have you on, Vanessa. It's been really lovely to share this part of your journey with you and to hear about what you've been moving through. And I'm so excited to hear about what happens next.
Awesome. Well, lots of love, my darling.
You too, sweetheart. Thank you so much. I had all the tingles, my lovely.
Thank you.
You're such a sweetheart. Right, I've just joined your group, so I'm going to be all over you.
All right, we'll see you in there.
All right, beauty. You go. Thank you. Bye.